Then we are going. There we go. Go ahead, and we're going to, anybody, we know everybody here, but if people do want to put, a little bit of a greeting in the chat, you're always welcome to. But we want to give the maximum amount of time to our amazing guests. I always let the guests, so that I don't mangle their pronunciation, I let the guests introduce themselves. So if you would go ahead, and the show is yours.
Of course, of course. Thank you. Piali, hello, hola. My name is Laura Gonzalez. I am here. I'm very happy to be here uh, through the invitation from Andrea. And my name is Laura. I'm a priestess of the goddess. I'm a minister with Circle Sanctuary. I am an Islamatket, which means translates literally to wise person. For the Kalpuli Shinashli Xochicalli, which is a indigenous practice group here in Chicago, where I reside. I come from Mexico City. I was born and raised in Mexico City. However, I live here in Chicago. Um, and what was I going to say? Let me disable my chat so I don't get distracted. Okay. I've been in Chicago for 27 years, and I'm also a witch for hire, and I do a lot of work with the community. And I've been doing this series of classes called Decolonizing the Goddess. And the goal is to bring the wisdom of the indigenous peoples of Mexico, the so-called Aztecs, into more of a mainstream-ish, if you will. Andrea was mentioning earlier that I was so very honored to be part of the indigenous people group of people that opened the Parliament of the World Religions in 2024. It was a group of us that walked through the procession of faiths to open the services. And then later during the opening plenary, I have the opportunity to speak. And it was the most incredible experience I have had so far. That is a huge stage. And as a result of that work that I did then, I got the very clear orders that I needed to move away from only teaching pagan theory and practice to bringing in the indigenous aspect of our practices, which I kind of not refuse, but I was hesitant to teach about our indigenous culture. And the message was very loud and very clear, where I was told with this very hand gesture, I need you whole. I don't need one half here, one half there. So, because we all receive our instructions and then we follow them, right? Is that I'm here. So, it is my honor today to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invitation and for carving the time on your day to be here. Um, we're going to be talking about three of the Tonatzins, or the Teteos, or the Siwa Teteos of the Mesoamerican mythology. So, a very quick introduction. People call us Aztecs. There is no such thing. We are not Aztecs. We are Mexica and or Mexica Tenochca. And our deities or gods and goddesses are not gods and goddesses. They are forces of nature that we anthropomorphized. And these entities that you see on your screen, they are Cihuateteo, and that's what we call them, right? The goddess. It will be the equivalent to goddess. And they primarily describe qualities and attributes of people and nature, but most importantly, they describe functions of nature. And through myth and through the beautiful poetry of our people's language and way of speaking, what is a beautiful oral tradition, I'm going to try to introduce them to you so you can get to know them and perhaps appreciate them. And if you feel called to work with them, what I always tell people is when you call on these names, you call in a tradition that is about 3,000 years old, 5,000 years old, give or take. So treat them like you will treat grandma's handkerchief, and be very cautious with it, and because they're precious. And when you're calling on them, you're calling on all our ancestors. So, be loving and caring for them. So today we're going to talk about Citlalicue or Citlalinique, who is this lady at the center. We're going to talk about Coatlicue, who is this lady on your left. And we're going to talk about Chalchutlicue, who is the lady on your right-hand side of your screen. Three of the very many motherly figures. We call them, like I say, Teteo. And Tonatzin is a name that you might have heard before. And Tonatzin just means our great mother. Not one of them is exclusively Tonatzin. All of them are Tonatzin. So we're gonna begin. This is another different depiction of Citlali, and she is the goddess of the cosmos. The ending of the ending of their names, they all end in que, that sound que, Acuatlicue, Citlalinique, and Chalchutlicue, and that ending que means skirt. So what we're talking about is the skirt of stars that covers the planet, that covers the cosmos, that covers the galaxies. She is that skirt that covers the atmosphere of our planet and beyond. It covers um, the atmospheres of all the galaxies and all the cosmos itself. And she is intrinsically related to life and death. Um, and her myth talks about the creation of human life. So here on your left-hand side, you see one of the images, another image of Citlalinique, and on the right-hand side is Mictlantecutli, pardon me, is Mictlancihuatl, the goddess of death. So here you have the goddess of the cosmos, the goddess of death, and they are related because life comes from death and death comes from life. And the myth says that Citlalinique sent her children to create life on earth. And in order to create life, the children have to go to the Mictlan, and Mictlan is the resting place of the dead. And so when her son went to get the bones of previous humans, he was tricked into some trials and some challenges to gather the bones in order to create the fifth son, which is the generation we are living now. And her son and the other lady on your screen, Tecasiwat's husband, Mictlantecutli and Quetzalcoatl, they got kind of into trials and challenges, and they trying to trick one another so that the bones couldn't leave the underworld. But at the very end of the day, Quetzalcoatl was triumphant, and he lives the underworld with the bones. However, he gets tricked one last time, and he falls. And as he falls, the bag of bones breaks, and all the bones are scattered, and he gets all upset, and then he collects the bones again, and off he goes and creates humanity. But the very important part of the myth, there is another depiction of Citlalinique. A very important part of the myth is that the bones, by being scattered, they were not formed a whole skeletal like normally will be. So now they're put together in a way that it was not perfect. It was not how it was supposed to be. And what this myth is telling us is that because of that incident, we have people that look different on the earth. Some people are tall, some people are short, some people have lighter skin, some people have darker skin, some people are thin, some people are very large. And it is explained on this myth of creation of life by Citlalinique, which tells us that we are as diverse as all the different many stars on the universe. And here we have uh, a little bit of view of her, right? That's the skirt that covers us, the Milky Way. And right there within it is Citlalinicue. You can see her here. I kind of fashioned the image of the monolith. Um, if you see her skirt as she is sitting with her legs crossed, on her skirt you see like little flowers, and those flowers are representing all the stars. And so she's telling us, right? She is the ancient mother, she is the old mother, and her breasts are hanging low because she is the milk, she is the nurturing of all the cosmos, and she nurtures us children. And she created us, right? As she created everything else. And she made a point, my dear friends, she made a point to make all of us different. And I think that is just poetic and beautiful. And of course, I'm in love with her. So I love that fact that it explains why some of us look so different from one another, right? So the second deity that we're going to talk about is Coatlicue, and she is more known. Oh, thank you for the hearts. I love that. She is one of the deities, one of the teteos that is more known on general culture outside of Mexico. And a lot of people call her Tonatzin, and they think she's the Virgin of Guadalupe, and they call her Tonatzin, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna get too much into that, but it was she was indeed syncretized by the colonizers' religion in order to colonize our people and to make them, believe on something different. Kind of what happened with Goddess Bridget and Saint Bridget in Ireland, and how people were, their spirituality was taken from them. However, her name is Coatlicue. So we have the skirt of stars first. Now we have the skirt of snakes. And I know that could be a little bit uh, unbecoming for some people. Some people don't like snakes. But she's talking to us about cycles, and she has a myth that is very beautiful. So the story tells us that Coatlicue was in her house and she was sweeping the floor, and a ball of feathers fell from the sky, and she thought it was very beautiful, so she picked it up and she put it on her bosom, and by putting it under, her skirt, suddenly now she finds herself pregnant. Her daughter, however, was not very happy that her mama was pregnant because she was without a husband. She didn't have a husband. And how come was she going to be pregnant? And this was a disgrace to the family and couldn't happen. And, we kind of have heard that story before, a Holy Spirit pregnancy, and it's kind of, it doesn't make sense. So her daughter, Koyoshauki, started telling her brothers, this cannot be happening. This is a disgrace to us, to our family, and our lineage. So she called on her 400 brothers, and these brothers are called the Sensowitznahuac. I cannot even pronounce that, so I'm not asking you to even remember it. The Sensowitznahuac came, and they start arming themselves, and they were ready to kill Coatlicue, the mother, and they were ready to kill that product on her belly, that pregnancy that was not supposed to happen. And at that moment is that the son of Coatlicue, whose name is Huitzilopochtli, tells her from her pregnant belly, he starts talking to her, and he tells her, don't be frightened, mother. I will take care of the situation. I will take care of you. Don't be afraid. Just carry me to term. And when I come out from your belly, I am going to put things in order, and I'm going to keep you safe. When he is born, the son of Coatlicue, Huitzilopochtli, he is born a full-on warrior. He has this shield called Chimali, and he has a sword called I forgot the name. I think it's Shukoatl, but I might be mistaken now. I suddenly forgot the name. When you have three languages in your head, it's, it's bound to happen. English, Spanish, and I'm learning Nahuatl. So all the Nahuatl words now, they all sound the same. But he has the shield and the sword, and he comes out of her mother's belly, and he cuts his sister to pieces and throws her up into the sky, and he fights his 400 brothers, the son with Nawak, and he becomes triumph and he saves the mother. So I know the myth sounds very bellic, very um, violent, but this is why these myths are so important and so beautiful. Because her skirt, which is made of snakes, is talking about the crust of the earth. And all those snakes that are going up and down are the mountains and the valleys of the planet Earth. So Coatlicue, she who have her skirt of snakes, is the crust, is the covering of the earth. From the earth, what is born is the sun. So her son Huitzilopochtli, that little tiny warrior that is born from her, is the sun in winter, at winter solstice. The sister, that the Coatlicue's daughter, Huitzilopochtli's sister, Coyoshauqui, who started all the instigation, is the moon. That's why he cut her up, and we see different pieces of Koyoshauki on the sky. Tonight, we see a full Koyoshauki, but sometimes we see her a quarter, half, etc., because the sunlight cuts the moon. And the 400 brothers, which is so hard for me to pronounce, I'm going to try one last time. Senson with Nawak. I did it. The 400 brothers are all the stars on the sky. So, what the story is telling us is that at winter solstice, Mother Earth is so pregnant with this child that when the child is born, all the darkness is gone, all the other stars in the sky are not seen anymore, they're gone. And the baby born, the child that we celebrate the birth of a child in winter solstice, is this child, is the sun as hummingbird, and the moon, Koyoshauki in pieces, and then the 400 brothers. And 400, it was not that there were 400 brothers. The number 400 was used by our people to exemplify infinite or a large amount of them. And the story is talking about the winter solstice. And why is he a warrior? If he is a hummingbird, if that sun on winter solstice is a hummingbird, how come is that a warrior? Well, because our people consider that the fiercest warriors in this planet were the hummingbirds, because they're these tiny birds that are endemic to America. And when I say America, I mean the continent. They're endemic to the continent, and they're the only bird that can hover, can fly up and down, frontwards and backwards, and can fly upside down. So the resiliency, the stamina, and the power of the hummingbird was something that our people observed and realized that it was unique and very interesting. So that's why the most condecorated warriors were the Huitzilopochtli warriors, the hummingbird warriors, the winter warriors. And Coatlicue obviously encourages us to have diversity in the world and also to understand the rhythms of nature, right? We're talking about winter solstice, then that brings about the conversation about summer solstice, the equinoxes, um, the two seasons that we have in Mexico, a little bit further south from the equator, pardon me, a little bit further south from what is the United States, of course, the seasons are different. And we have more of a dry season and a wet season, but we still observe the equinoxes and the solstices. And we have four different birds to explain the warmth and the strength of the sun. So the sun in winter is the hummingbird. The sun on spring is the quetzal bird. The sun in summer is the eagle bird. And the sun on fall is the macaw bird because of the colors, right? So all these birds, the hummingbird will be the smallest one, but is the most warrior-like because it's the son of winter that fights every day to bring us warmth. And Coatlicue is here to teach us about the beauty of the earth and conservation and cycles and respecting those cycles and all of that. And I can talk about her for hours, obviously, but we only have a few minutes left. But if you ever want to connect with Coatlicue, all you have to do is look at the mountains and the valleys. Of course, here in the Midway, I don't have a whole lot of mountains, but last year I was on a trip to California and I was able to fly over the mountains, and it's the most beautiful sight if you ever get the opportunity to fly over California and see all those mountains or anywhere where there's mountains. And that's where Coatlicue is, all her snakes, all her skirt snake covering the earth. And the last goddess that we're going to talk about, the last Cihuateteo we're going to talk about, is right here in the center. Her name is Chalchutlicue. She is considered a freshwater goddess, and her name, again, is a skirt. Chalchutlicue. Chalchu means jade. So this is a skirt of polished jade. And what that is talking about is about the glimmering sight of the water when it's moving with the earth, with the air, and you can see the sun reflected from the fresh water, and it looks like a precious piece of jewelry or jade, because again, our people spoke in poetry, right? Every word that came out of their mouths were metaphors and allegories and symbology about beautiful things. And so we're talking about the water, and here we see another image of Chalchutlicue, like the fresh water, not the ocean water, but the fresh water that covers the earth. So we're talking lakes, ponds, streams, the rain when falls and is laying on the ground. So any kind of fresh water that is on top of on the earth. And she is how do you say nuzzle it? No, what do you say when you give a child milk? I can't remember the
Nursing?
Nursing.
nursing. Thank you. She is nursing a child, speaking about the blessings of the fresh water, and that being the first element that we recognize and be in contact when we are born. So children, when they were born, the first teteo that they were dedicated to was Chalchutlicue. And we have, this is Lake Pátzcuaro in Mexico, or it could be Lake Texcoco. Please forgive me, I forgot which image I used at the end. Or it might be Lake Janitzio. I'm so sorry, but it's a lake in Mexico. And they used to do a lot of offerings of figurines, and so the lakes are filled with these figurines because they knew and they understood that water was life. And this is something that we indigenous people have been saying for decades. Water is life. It's not just an empty phrase. It is the only water that we have. We don't have any other reserve of water coming to the planet. We cannot call for a delivery to water from Mars or from the moon. We just don't have other resource of water. And water is the main and most magical thing on the earth because it connects us with the ancestors. Because if you think about it, the water that we drink, the water that we bathe on, the water that we swim on, the water that we use to do our chores is the same water that our ancestors did all those things. The water just continue in the cycle that never ends, but it's not new water, it's the same water. So we're connected to ancestors, we're connected to life, we are connected to land, and that is the water inside our cells. So if you ever feel lonely and like your ancestors are not around you, drink a cup of water and think about the water in your cells because it's filled with ancestors, yours, mine, and every single one's.
Laura, I'm very quickly. Joe was curious about the two-headed snake beneath the nose of the prior image of the freshwater goddess. I don't know. I know we don't have a lot of time, but could you just briefly talk about that?
Yeah, she used the nariguera or the septum piercing with the two-headed snake, and it's a lunar septum, so it has to do with the moon, and it has to do with the moon connection with the water, and it's a feminine septum. So feminine teteos women, the Masawali women, etc., they will use circular nose rings, whereas males will use the rod, the one that goes straight. And again, we don't have a whole lot of time, but yeah, it has to do with the moon. It's
Thank
the
you.
same
I
things.
think that that is just it's just so rich in symbology that it's
Oh
lovely
yeah,
to hear this. Thank
I
you.
am trying to pack
I know a lot into a
a
little
whole
time,
lot
and
in
we
30
really
minutes, but
appreciate it. We really
we're
do.
gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
We got it.
So when a child was born, the first offering that was done was to Chalchutlicue. Ve aquí con que has de crecer y reverdecer, el agua despertará y purificará tu corazón y tus hígados. Esta es tu madre y tu padre, toma, recíbela en la boca, pues con ella has de vivir siempre en la tierra. Está aquí su frescor, siempre está viva y despierta, nunca duerme ni dormita, que siempre te envuelva para que seas diligente sobre la tierra. Hízote merced nuestro hijo Quetzalcóatl, que está en todo lugar. Ahora júntate con Chalchutlicue en Chalchutlaltonac. For those who are Spanish impaired, goes here with what you have to grow and renew. The water will awaken and purify your heart and your livers. This is your mother and your father. Take it, receive it in your mouth, because with it you must always live on earth. Its freshness is here. It is always alive and awake. It never sleeps or slumbers. May it always surround you so that you know, so that you may be diligent on the earth. May your child Quetzalcoatl, who is everywhere, now get together with Chalchutlicue and Chalchutlatonac and give them your qualities. This is a blessing that appears also in Nahuatl, but I'm not able to read it on Nahuatl yet. I'm learning. And this was the very first blessing that was given to a newborn child. As the child came from the mother's womb, the midwife, priestess, will grab fresh water and bless the child's mouth, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, and then their baby little hands and their baby little feet. And it was dedicated, the child was dedicated to water because they understood and they knew that water was going to be with the child and child was going to be with water all their life. So I feel that is beautiful. And I have already had the opportunity to do a baby blessing with this prayer in Spanish and English. And I'm telling you, it's the most beautiful thing in the planet. Um, and I know we're almost out of time, but I want to just let you know um, her connection with water obviously reminds us as well with our connection with emotional intelligence and the tides and the flow and all the care that goes with caring for our internal waters. And that's how we can find the connection with Chalchutlicue, right? So we look at the cosmos and the diversity, we connect with Citlalinique. When we look at the mountain ridge and the valleys and the moon and the seasons, we're connecting with Coatlicue. And when we are drinking a cup of water, connecting with fresh water, we connect with Chalchutlicue. And this is, I am 99% sure that this is Janitzio in Mexico, a lake, in which you can see all three of them, right? You see Citlalinique as the stars in the sky, as the sun that is setting, because the sun is a star, don't forget that. We see the mountain ridges of Coatlicue, and then we see the lake, the body of Chalchitlicue, and the lake. So magic is in the life and in our everyday life. They are these three ladies. My name is Laura Gonzalez. I go by Blue Witch. These are the places where you can find my work and my information. And with that, I cannot believe that I just went over 2 minutes.
You
So
did amazing.
we got
Seriously,
it done.
that was so wonderful. Really quickly, I'm going to stop recording